Hello. Welcome to the Bugzilla Project meeting for January 8th. I'm Dave Miller. I'm the project leader, and with me I've got Dylan and Emmanuel, who are members of our project team. And Dylan's the one that's mostly handling stuff nowadays, so I will let him go ahead and take over if he's got stuff to talk about.
And that's almost true because I actually did work, 24 days ago. So I meant to do more work over the holidays. I have a brief digression. So over the holidays, I got Bugzilla all running under Apache, although I really want to get the Mozilla stuff running there. But anyway, when I say Bugzilla, I mean Bugzilla 5.2, the 5.2 branch, and my goal 24 days ago was to get it so that we could run under MySQL 8 because MySQL 8 made the word groups a reserved word, which is a surprisingly large number of changes. So I wrote a patch series that does like 80% of that. Emmanuel has reviewed that. He reviewed it like right away, like 4 days after I did it. And then I was going to work on that over the holidays. And then what happened is I'm traveling a lot for the holidays and I lost access to my machines because my router is like IPv6 very much apparently. But anyway, that's all taken care of now. So that patch series is going to land. And I mean, as I said, there's a few more things. So check setup won't finish running because there's still a few places where the word groups isn't properly quoted. I came up with a novel kind of hacky solution to that. If anyone's interested in that, we should have some notes after the meeting for this pull request. But it's a pull request 85 on the Bugzilla repo. And it's a series starting with that one. Anyway, so that's all well and good. I also have some. We're not confirmed on this yet, but I'm currently in talks with someone that's interested in helping the other side of this bridging effort. So if long-term listeners will know that we have two kind of different bits of code that I've been trying to push closer together. We have the main Bugzilla code base, which in the 5.2 branch has a different database connection thing that was borrowed from the BMO code. And it also has a better email sending thing that evolved a couple of years ago. So it has a more configurable and robust email sending solution, whereas then you have the Harmony codebase, which is the fork off of BMO, which has a much better UI, a much better runtime because it runs under Mozilla. And we call that the Harmony project. So the interest that I'm receiving maybe from two contributors long-term in the sphere, they're not like devs on it, but they are very involved. Have reached out to me and said, "Hey, we would like to help with this thing, maybe." And we were going to have a meeting about that today, but the other person couldn't make it. But long story short, so what I'm going to try to do is I'll write down my ideas on how to bridge the Harmony code closer to where someone else can run it. Whereas I'm going to keep working on what I promised you, Dave, 2 months ago, which is to make 5.2 usable. The biggest thing I can do for this is making it so we run on MySQL 8. This is actually necessary because I don't have MySQL 5.7 on my dev machine anymore. So I kind of need it to work on 8. Like I can't do anything else until I can finish running check setup. So like I said, that's my goal. But with that in mind, the only question that's on my mind is at what point, like how do I get what I want to do is I want to do as little as possible, right? I want to get 5.2 as close to the Harmony code as possible so that they're roughly in sync enough where I can steal the email code out of the 5.2 branch. And that's the only thing I really care about there. So the message I would be giving I'm going to be writing for the person working on the harmonization stuff is that really the only thing that's not already there that you need is the email stuff. So kind of work at that from both ends. The next thing I'm probably going to do in 5.2, if I get MySQL 8 working, is copy the Mozilla stuff over. So there, right now, you can run the Harmony code base under Mozilla. I think it's much easier to get running. Like I can get a Harmony thing, even though we haven't greenlit anyone to use this. I can take the Harmony repo and get a Bugzilla running in the command line or running in a Docker container or anything like that in like an hour or two, whereas getting Bugzilla upstream to run performantly with the mod Perl and everything is takes a little bit longer. So that's what I hope to do. Now I have other news. If there's people watching this, maybe Emmanuel will be there, but I will definitely be at FOSDEM at the end of this month. I'm actually going to hang around in that general area. It's like a little vacation for me. And like what I do on my vacations is I work on Bugzilla stuff. So I'll be doing sightseeing stuff too, but I'm going to set aside blocks of time where I'm just going to hack on some Bugzilla stuff.
Cool.
Eurozone. I'm also meeting up with the person that's expressed interest in helping with the harmonization thing. It's also going to be at FOSDEM. So I'm just very excited about this additional outside enthusiasm. Also, I want to highlight Emmanuel has actually been key in keeping my interest in this, because he said, hey, what can I do to help? And that kind of pushed me. I'm like, well, here, I'll do this stuff. I need help reviewing, because to be honest, I can write a bunch of code, but if I don't have a foil of someone that can look at it and tell me if it's weird or not a good idea, then I don't like working in that way. So equal credit for actually reviewing that and doing a fast review turnaround too. So like in history of Bugzilla, I think that's a lightning fast review turnaround. I just hope I can get it landed, but I'm going to land it, I think, I don't want to land it into 5.2. The 5.2 branch does work, except not on against MySQL 8, but it is in a working state, and I don't want to break that. And right now, actually, will it break? Right now, it won't break it. It'll continue not working. So that stuff will land, but I'm not saying that it'll work on MySQL 5.8 yet. I think that it would if you created a database, ran check setup on MySQL 5.7, then copied that database to a 5.8. I think all of the runtime generated SQL gets properly quoted. It's just the SQL that gets run from Bugzilla install db.pm and adjacent areas that doesn't work. So that's where we are. It's not, to be fair, a lot of progress. However, there was zero progress in between the last meeting and the one before that. So this, if you look at it, is like a 50% improvement. So hopefully that gives people some hope. So if there's any other questions about priorities and so on, my number one priority, MySQL 8 needs to work. People upgrade their databases. If people go to do a new install, they're likely at this point in time, or to like migrate to new hardware, they're likely to use MySQL 8. And if they do, they'll run into the bug, which by the way, it's bug 1592.192. 1592.129. A little bit of dyslexia there. So that's the bug you'll run into. So I think that's top priority. Second priority for me, because I want to not be wedded to Apache, is I need to port the Mozilla runtime over to 5.2. This still doesn't get what we want, what I really want out of the harmonization, which is really the front-end work that Kohei has done. So that's where the two ends meet. We sort of got a really nice front-end stuff that we need to pull in, and we can't just piecemeal that in. It's going to be like all or nothing. So we have to get the two code bases so the backends are basically the same, and then there's a pivot point where the Harmony one becomes the default, and that will be the quote 6.0 release. But meanwhile, for stability, there should be a 5.2 release before the next meeting with the MySQL 8 improvements. I'm not promising the Mozilla stuff, because even if I get like say 5 days, like a 5-day work week to work on Bugzilla stuff, that's enough time to get the MySQL 8 stuff completely working and tested and get releases built and all that. It's not enough time for anything else. So I'm being very cautious. I've been overly optimistic about how much free time I can have, being an adult person with children, and have more realistic expectations of myself now. So there you go.
And we need to make sure go through release process too. Make sure
Yes.
everything's in line for that, because the 508 release was kind of confusing.
Yeah, that was a mistake, but well, moving forward. I had never done one before, and I wanted to simplify it, but apparently that was a mistake. So mistakes happen. And again, anyone that happens to catch this later and is anywhere in the neighborhood of FOSDEM, you can find me as like Dylan WH on Freenode, and like send me a message and say, hey, Dylan, I'm at FOSDEM. Let's talk about Bugzilla stuff. I mean, I've done this with Emmanuel before. We usually run into each other there. And like I said, the possible friends are showing up there. So there'll be an update. So that's another thing. There'll be 2 points in the next meeting, which is hopefully a successful, hey, there's been a release that wasn't broken. And 2, hey, maybe these people got together and we did this stuff. But let's just see how that goes.
Okay.
Okay. Dylan?
Yep.
Unfortunately, I won't be at FOSDEM in 2020.
That's too bad.
Yeah, so that's that. I've been running the 5.2 branch using PostgreSQL because I'm mainly a PostgreSQL guy.
Yep.
And also because I knew MySQL wouldn't work, and
yes.
I haven't hit any major bugs so far.
Oh, that's really good. I like hearing that.
Everything seems to work the way it should work.
Yep. One thing you might notice if you compare that against the 5.0 is like if you ran netstat or something, you might notice that there are persistent connections to your database. And in the case of Postgres, that's probably really good because so MySQL has a huge amount of optimizations where they actually cheat at TCP/IP a little bit to make the connection faster. Postgres doesn't do that. So when you give Postgres a persistent connection, you get like an actual performance improvement. So that I did that work for BMO originally, and BMO is using MySQL. So we measured almost no discernible performance difference because MySQL is just really fast at connecting, but I really suspect that Postgres benefits from that a lot.
Okay.
You might not notice that on a small scale either, but like you're talking, 50 milliseconds maybe that you're saving. So it's good.
This is on my personal laptop. I wouldn't see the difference.
Probably not, but it's still there.
Okay, good to know.
Yep. Cool. Anyway, thanks for that positive feedback. That's actually really cool.
Okay.
Dave, any other questions, Emmanuel?
Just another comment. I've been running that 5.2 branch on CentOS 8, and I did all the work necessary to get the Pro modules in the Fedora repositories.
Oh, excellent!
For CentOS.
So you doing that means that the number of future people coming into IRC with problems about packaging just went like down immensely, because that's always the crux of the problem with a vanilla upstream is that people will go and they'll use install module.pl, right? And then their distro will slightly upgrade some C thing or something like that, and then they just get random seg faults, and they're like, my Bugzilla is broken. And it's like, well, how did you install the modules? And it's really difficult to explain because it's almost inexplainable why we have that foot gun of the install module PL thing in there. But the fact that we can just say use the provided distro modules, at least on CentOS 8, is great. So thanks. I will make sure also as another note, there are a few very tricky or bad dependencies that are in the Harmony code. So I'm going to be writing a brain dump for hopefully for like some other person to be working on the harmonization stuff. And one of the directions that I will give is to try to cut out the dependencies that are most problematic. I think I know what these are, but if you message me in IRC, like, Dylan, I really don't want to package this for Fedora, it's a terrible thing. Or like, can we do without this dependency? Then I'll make sure that we can cut them out. Well, in particular, I'm thinking of data password passwdqc. Data password passwdqc. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
It's not packaged, and passwdqc is actually a terrible library.
And I tried packaging it, and it's a pain, and I had to give up on it.
Yep. There's also there's the Markdown module, which is using the GitHub flavored Markdown. I want to make that completely optional. That's the other one I think of, and I'm the upstream for that module on CPAN, and it's great for BMO's use, but I think that I think that people probably don't care about 100% GitHub flavored Markdown compatibility. So there's that. And I think there's another question around, so the Markdown transition for BMO made a lot of sense. It's easy to do that. I think we might need more knobs for upstream. So those are some of the things. But like I said, hopefully I get to write those down, and then I'm not going to do that work, but I really look forward to it being like, there's just a list of things to do, like a punch list, and have help doing that. That would make things a lot better. So, and I have been getting help from you. I will point out, I'm not looking at gift horse in the mouth, but it's just the harmonization stuff is always been a lot hairier. It has the most promise because of the UI, but it's also, there's so many BMO-isms that just, like, for instance, the way that we migrated from plain text comments to rich text or richer markdown comments, that's very specific to that one install and not general. So it's harder to do that. I mean, can you imagine if you're like, it'd be like if we were MediaWiki and we just said, you know what? We're completely changing the way that wikis are rendered, and there's no way to go back to the old one. So good luck. I mean, you wouldn't do that. So we shouldn't do that in Bugzilla either. Cool. Do I have any other news? I should be happy to note that several of the features that involve, there's only a few places where IP addresses are used in Bugzilla. Because of my recent IPv6 experiments, I've been poking at it and connecting to it from an IPv6 address. And I believe all of the fields are actually large enough where the whole IPv6 address gets stored, and not the thing that happens in some other applications I've dealt with where it's just the maximum length of an IPv4 address. Bugzilla is as much as it can be IPv6 ready, which is the bare minimum for 2020. And much unlike my router, which supports IPv6 but doesn't really understand how it's supposed to work. All right, that's what I've got. Just Dave, does that sound like, so I mean, the main point of this meeting for me was to deliver you as the project leader the progress report on the 5.2 stuff. Do you think that's good? Are there any concerns that you have, or specific things about the prioritization that I've done, basically super prioritizing the MySQL 8 compatibility?
Nope, that sounds good to me.
Okay, cool. All right, and I hope to be able to deliver on that before the next meeting.
So I don't think we had anything else specific on the agenda at all for today. So.
Yeah, we were so close. Oh, sorry, Manu, I think I was going to say something. We were so close to having an update, but the other meeting that was before this one fell through. So.
Okay. So I guess that's it for us for today then. Our next meeting is going to be on Wednesday, February 5th. Same time as usual.
Hey, guess what? I'll be in Belgium then. So it'll be coming, at least I'll be coming live from somewhere in Belgium. Or I don't know, maybe I'll take the train, and maybe I'll just take the train that day.
Oh, is that during FOSDEM?
Yeah. Hey, Manuel, maybe I'll just take the train and visit Paris. I've never been there.
Okay. Well, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, I'll be back home again, back day after returning from Berlin, actually.
Oh, really? Awesome. Cool. All right. See you, folks. Thanks for the
just for the record, FOSDEM is on the 1st and 2nd of February.
Yep. I'm leaving the 31st and getting there to be there both days. Doing various things. All right.
Cheers. Oh, I'll be in Berlin during FOSDEM then.
Darn.
Okay.
At least we're not on the same plane. That would be very bad if we were, it's very dangerous for the Bugzilla project if we're all on the plane at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers.
So see everybody next month or around IRC.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.